'Tis the season for Christmas cake, sorrel, ham, and time with family and loved ones. Christmas is getting closer, everyone, and the festive vibes are in the air. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. We have a very informative show lined up just for you, so stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Season's greetings to my fellow Jamaicans. This Christmas, let us celebrate in true Jamaican style and commit to safer roads. Last year, we lost over 480 lives in road accidents. This holiday season, let us do our best to stay below that number. Drive responsibly, slow down, avoid distractions, and never ever drink and drive. Buckle up, especially the children, and always watch out for pedestrians. The holidays are a time for joy, not sorrow. Let's ensure everyone arrives safely. From all of us at the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, have a safe and happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year. God bless you all.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, December 17, 2024. The Art of Living Foundation Jamaica and the Amber Group are providing $5 million to advance critical initiatives in education, rural development, and prisoner rehabilitation across the country. The letter of intent for the assistance was presented to Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness on Friday by Ambassador Dushyant Savadia. It followed a meeting with the founder of the Art of Living Foundation, Ambassador Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Dr. Holness says the contribution will provide real and lasting benefits to many Jamaicans in need.
Through the Art of Living Foundation, Gurudev has championed personal and social transformation, focusing on mental wellness, stress management, and community upliftment. Here in Jamaica, the foundation has supported over 3,000 inmates through its prison rehabilitation programs and has worked extensively in inner-city communities, schools, youth and corporate entities, promoting emotional resilience and positive attitudes.
Ambassador Shankar emphasizes that a peaceful and happy society is key to the economic prosperity of a country.
Our commitment is to make the world a better place, a more happier place. So here we would like to bring more and more, art of living teachers, create more and more art of living volunteers and teachers who can uplift the happiness index of a country, and it is very doable.
Christmas came early for some residents of St. Anne who received homes recently, courtesy of the new social housing program, NSHP. Simone Reed, a resident of the John Reed community, expresses immense joy for her new 3-bedroom home, a stark contrast to the dilapidated house she is leaving behind.
The housing situation was so bad that even when the rain fell, there was leakage. Even the wall was just literally collapsing, even while I was in the house. If you notice that the house there, the board, because of bracing, we have to brace it. So it was so bad. And I am just feeling so good that what my Prime Minister here has done for me. I am thankful to God, and I am thankful for him and all who that made it possible that I could live in this house. Thank you.
Claudette Linton from the community of Inverness and an elderly couple, Mr. and Mrs. Swaby, thanked the Jamaican taxpayers for their new homes and the possibilities they bring. While handing over the units, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness expressed the government's plan to build houses to attract low-income earners in the near future.
There are other solutions which we intend to put in place, and I'll make further announcements of those. But every Jamaican can rest assured that the government understands the housing issues. It does take some time, and we should bear in mind that for 3 years we were impacted by COVID. And so what we should have been delivering to the markets now, those have been delayed by a year or two.
To date, the NSHP has provided approximately 260 houses. With the boom in hotel construction being experienced, the government is positioning resources to support infrastructure development such as road and water. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says this will help to maintain economic stability and benefit the people. He was speaking on Thursday at the grand opening of the largest hotel in the country in 15 years, the Princess Hotels and Resort in Green Island, Hanover. The $400 million investment consists of 1,000 rooms and will provide approximately 2,000 jobs for locals. Both Dr. Holness and Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett have emphasized the need for the country to capitalize on the growth through sustainable measures.
We need to pivot, not to give up the stability that we have gained, but now we need to put our next foot on the other rung of the ladder, and that is speed and efficiency in getting things done. That is improving infrastructure to support this amazing investment. And most importantly, to ensure that the people of Jamaica benefit from the stability.
The first area of pivot, Prime Minister, will be around the supply chain within tourism, and a determination to ensure that the Jamaican people own the supply chain of tourism. So transportation, ground transportation, housing, and other such development, the people of Jamaica must own that particular area.
For his part, Managing Director of Princess Hotels and Resort, Enrico Pizzoli, says a casino is already under construction and opening is projected for the fourth quarter of next year.
Princess is proud to be the first in Jamaica to offer a full-service style casino. Where guests can enjoy exciting state-of-the-art gaming lounge and at the same time world-class food and beverage experience.
Camps are now underway by the Ministry of Education for students preparing for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and City and Guilds exams in June 2025. The Christmas term subject-based camps are being held at the regional levels and will run until December 19. The aim is to improve performances, particularly in mathematics and English language. According to a bulletin from the ministry, the camps are offering in-depth review sessions on key areas of the CSEC and City and Guilds math exams, interactive lessons, past paper practice, and personalized exam strategies. Additionally, the National Mathematics team will host a 2-week CSEC Math Marathon from January 13 to 24, 2025. Weekly webinars will also be held for CSEC math students on Tuesdays, starting January 28, and for City and Guilds stages 2 and 3 students on January 29, 2025. For more information, contact the mathematics coordinator in the ministry's educational regions. And finally, Custos Rotalorum for Kingston, the Honorable Stedman Fuller, is deputizing for Governor General His Excellency the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen. The Governor General is recovering from an elective spinal surgery to alleviate the debilitating and painful effects of his condition. The surgery was on Monday. King's House has extended prayers and well wishes for His Excellency's speedy recovery, noting that the nation remains grateful for his steadfast dedication and looks forward to his return to duty. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
With our busy schedule, sometimes we lose focus on our health. So let's stop and take a moment to understand the cardiovascular complications of diabetes and how to treat with this particular threat to good health.
Diabetes is a common illness. Most of us may be aware of its various complications, such as diabetic retinopathy and neuropathy, diabetic kidney disease, and so on. But when it comes to deaths caused from diabetes, cardiovascular complications account for the majority. Diabetes is recognized as one of 4 major factors for developing cardiovascular disease, the others being hypertension, obesity, and cigarette smoking.
About 68% of persons over the age of 65, and this is data now from the American Heart Association, 65% of persons over the age of 65 who have diabetes will die from heart disease, and about another 16% will die of stroke.
Before we take a look at how to manage or even prevent cardiovascular complications of diabetes, let us look at how persons come to develop the disease.
In a nutshell, what generally happens is that diabetic persons have a more rapid rate at which fat and cholesterol is deposited in the arterial system. So we all have that. It's considered part of the process of aging. Fat and cholesterol is being laid down in our arteries. However, diabetic persons tend to have that happen at a more rapid rate, okay? And as a result of that, what tends to happen is that diabetic persons will progress to a point where they have compromised vessels. So in other words, the lumen, the diameter of the vessel, is narrowed, the flow of blood is limited.
And as the heart muscles become starved of blood, various acids accumulate and persons will tend to experience what is called angina, or a type of chest pain.
You may get complete blockage of the vessel, which may now result in what is called a heart attack.
Heart tissues are not meant to function in an environment where the blood sugar level is elevated. And so, another incidence of diabetic cardiovascular complication results where high blood sugar levels in persons who are diabetic becomes directly toxic to heart cells. This impairs the ability of blood vessels to open normally under conditions of stress, such as exercise, and also causes inflammation and impaired clotting of the blood.
So if they're chronically exposed to those levels of elevated blood sugars, then there are biochemical consequences. There's weakness of the heart muscle, and patients, many of them, go on to developing heart failure and so on.
The diagnosis of cardiovascular complications is more difficult in diabetics, where the symptoms appear unclear or may be different from the non-diabetic patient. Take, for example, a non-diabetic person with, say, coronary heart disease.
Generally, they will say, well, look, doc, I felt pressing pain to the center of my chest. It's moving down my left arm. It comes on with activity. It stops when I stop engaging in whatever activity. It feels like a weight or like a pressure, like a squeezing sensation, and it's associated with other things like shortness of breath and so on. Diabetics, however, have a particular problem because they have damage to the nerves, and therefore they may not actually experience chest pain at all. If they do, it may not be the typical angina which we would normally expect a patient to describe. Okay, so oftentimes diabetic patients who are having cardiovascular disease will say that, doc, I just feel a little funny sensation in my chest, a little discomfort, I just feel short of breath, or I'm walking up the stairs, or I'm running after my grandkids and I find that I'm just out of breath.
The rest of the diagnostic process, however, is similar and may include an echocardiogram, ECG, blood works, or various stress tests accessible at public health facilities and at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Generally, diabetic patients will have elevated blood sugars in their urine, which, if identified, serves as a red flag and need for more specific testing. A urinalysis or urine dipstick test is generally done as part of school medicals, oftentimes as a screening test for diabetes. As with every illness, early detection and prevention is key to having good health.
It would be good every year for every person to be checked. If you're diabetic, you would have been told how often you need to check your blood sugar by your health professional. But if you're just doing checks and you're healthy otherwise, then at least once a year to check your cholesterol, your sugar, your blood pressure, do your ECG to see if there is any abnormality in the heart.
The treatment of cardiovascular disease in diabetic patients is more holistic, involving lifestyle changes to include diet, exercise, and maintaining a healthy weight.
In a nutshell, we advocate for, eating primarily fruits and vegetables, things like whole grains and nuts, limiting one's intake of fast foods, foods with high fat content, high cholesterol, salt, and so on, and portion size management as well.
More unprocessed foods, less of the very refined high sugar foods. So there are those foods that are obviously very high in sugar. So the typical recommendation, if you look at a plate, half of the plate should be more plant-based foods, leafy vegetables, and some fruit.
In general, 150 minutes minimum per week of moderate exercise such as swimming, brisk walking, jogging or cycling is recommended. Besides the lifestyle changes, clinical treatment through prescription drugs and surgical procedures is an important element in caring for persons with cardiovascular complications of diabetes.
We have medications to address symptoms, we have medications to prolong life. And that forms an important part of the approach. There are a variety of procedures which diabetic patients and other non-diabetic patients may qualify for, or it may be necessary to pursue. So we speak of things like stenting, for example, coronary artery bypass grafting, which is of course open heart surgery, major surgery. Diabetic patients we have a lower threshold for referring diabetics for that kind of procedure just because of the severity of their disease.
Medications developed primarily for use by diabetic patients have been shown to have significant cardiovascular benefits as they reduce the risk of death and complications related to cardiovascular disease in diabetic patients. But with most of them still under patent, access is quite costly. Your best treatment option is to adopt healthy lifestyle practices that make you less prone to developing diabetes or cardiovascular disease.
Blending tradition with skills, local artisans have been handcrafting brooms for generations. As we approach the season of shopping, let's look at these talented broom makers and support their craft by bringing a piece of it into our homes.
This is O'Shane Mambe. Most people call him Jadon. He's a recording artist and broom ambassador. Yes, you heard right, a broom ambassador who hails from a family of broom makers. We met him at Grace Food Festival on the grounds of Hope Gardens in August 2024, and impressed with his broom jewelry line, we had to learn more of the driving force behind his creativity.
So brooming was very unexpected. During the pandemic, Jadon released his debut album, 369, and he went to South Florida to promote, and we were locked down. So he looked around and he saw some bull touch in Palm Beach and decided to make his first broom, took a picture, put it on social media outside of Jamaica, and it was a wildfire of requests. People everywhere asking him to ship a Jamaican broom through the US mail. And he was just giving away brooms as a token to his fans during the pandemic.
By doing that, the demand was forwarding, for the product. And by being around the warriors that I was around in Florida, the song came forward, the Broomy song. A song came forward called Broomy. And by doing the Broomy song, we decided, say, you know what, the Broomy song was getting a lot of love. So we decided, say, you know what, let's take this to the next level. Because when I was in Florida, I realized something that I was looking for all of these years, you know what I mean? And it's how to create that bond, to create that bond, honestly, to create more work for my community, you know what I mean? Because my community is a cottage industry. My community have something that is very unique.
It was after this brief interview and learning where he was from that we decided to meet some of the broom makers of Canaanites in Clarendon, a community that specializes in the making of thatch brooms. There we met Miss Daphne and Miss Janet, who have been making brooms for over 75 years, and Michael and Kenneth, broom makers for over 20 years. The brooms are made of thatch palm sourced from within the community and other parishes. It is held together with a stick, nails, and wires.
Me also walk around, you know. Take bus and go town, come off a 6 mile, walk for 6 mile with it on my head, reach a Constant Spring. I walk all downtown, go to Golden Spring and beat it on foot, come back down. But through me get up in the age now, I can't take it walking. So I just sell a mape in town. I just carry it out and lean up it and take them out 6 and walk around and sell. Yeah man, people buy man. Buy the dozen, some buy 2 dozen, some buy 3 dozen, 4 dozen, and it depends. I'll supermarket buy too. I sell them out of mape in town. I market there. But I stop sell broom and mape in, so tell me. I start make more, I got town. When I got town, go sell broom at $50 and $70 you get for one.
When?
Yes, long time now. And then I left and got Spanish Town and start selling Spanish Town. I did Spanish Town, I don't know. So I can get $300 for one now, Spanish Town.
I don't know, a survival, so you have to do it, you understand? And switch to no young and no badness and all and something that we just go and do it, you understand? Give thanks, work and go and see, you understand? Keep it out of trouble.
In Jamaican homes, traditional brooms have been used for generations, valued for their effectiveness and cultural importance. However, modern plastic brooms are now more common due to their durability and ease of maintenance.
These are original still, same way. Still have some people where nah look at them on the same way, natural thing. Yeah, so. They sell a broom with 3 bills, 4 bills, all different price. The price not stable, you know. You have a man cheap and that, you have a man dear and that same way. But as I say, that's survival, so you know, you don't give up, you still do things, you know.
I used to grow, we don't grow enough father, so we grow and learn for hustle. So we make broom and go up and sell. We alright. Can't go out of bed, nobody can wait to up, you see me? We go now. So we just stick to it. We sell them by dozen, 1, 2 dozen and them here. Then we sell a town and Spanish town. All over the road.
It's labor intensive.
Yeah, hard, yes, but if you put your mind to it, you reach where you want to reach, you see me? Sometimes all I can't do one time, you have to do some and leave some. Because I'm not trying to make for me them one day. Day by day, I do liquor.
Thanks for staying with us on Jamaica Magazine. Now, don't be alarmed if you hear that worms, yes, the ones inside our bodies, can be a common problem for both adults and kids. But don't worry, once treated, there's nothing to fear. Let's get the facts from an expert.
Deworming is the process of giving worm medicine to an individual to get rid of parasites such as roundworm and tapeworm. While the focus is usually on children, adults should also be dewormed. Consultant pediatrician at the Bustamante Hospital for Children, Dr. Sandrika Young-Peart, tells us why this process is important, signs to look for, and the impact of these worms to our health.
When we talk about worms, we're talking about multiple different types. We may talk about the roundworm, the pinworm, or we can talk about the whipworm. And these are just some of the few worms that exist. The worms can actually cause a disease burden on our society, and the complications of having worm infestations are numerous and problematic. it affects how our children may concentrate and may be able to learn. There are actually documented findings that it actually affects your cognitive and your physical development and your ability to concentrate in school. And so it's actually important that we actually rid our children of these parasites. According to the WHO, approximately 800 million children are actually affected by worms each year. So what are some of the signs that a person may have worms? Symptoms could be what we commonly think about, like grinding of the teeth. They may be itching their anus, right? They may actually have weight loss. They may feel very tired and fatigued. And these are just some of the symptoms that may give you an indication that your child may have worm. They may not have any signs at all. Or they can have other signs and symptoms, such as vomiting, abdominal swelling or distension, diarrhea, or constipation. If the worms actually form balls, they can actually block the intestines, and that can either cause constipation and cause the child to vomit. They can also present with wheezing, and we may think they are actually asthmatics, but it's actually the worms that have migrated into the lungs to cause obstruction of the airway and cause the child to wheeze. So how do they get infected? They may get infected either by eating or drinking contaminated water or food. If there is inadequate or improper waste disposal, and if we don't wash our hands before we eat or drink food. And there's a particular worm that you can actually get if you actually walk barefooted. So that is also something to bear in mind. And so it's actually important that we actually give our children worm medicine so we can actually target getting rid of these worms and actually reducing the worm burden in our society. You can deworm your children twice per year. You should actually give them worm medicine, and all the persons who are in the household should also get the worm medicine at the same time. It is important that our adults also be treated or dewormed, because we can be asymptomatic, meaning that we don't have any symptoms at all, but we can still be carriers of worms. And when we excrete or pass our feces, especially sometimes when we do it inappropriately, we may pass out the eggs of these worms. Then our cows or poultry or pigs may actually ingest these when they feed. And then that's a vicious cycle. And should our children be playing in the areas where waste is inadequately disposed, then they too can actually pick up the eggs or the larvae on their fingers. And if they don't wash their hands before they eat, or while they're in the midst of playing, they may actually put their fingers in their mouth, then they too can actually ingest these worms. So how can you prevent your child from getting worms? It's difficult, but there are some basic tips that we can actually do to reduce the chance of our children getting these serious worm infections and having the complications. Basic hand washing before eating our food, allowing our children not to walk barefooted, allowing our children not to play with the pets, especially if their pets are not treated quite frequently. And importantly, proper hygiene. Ensure that our waste is disposed properly. So it's pretty important that we all get on board as adults so we can actually reduce the worm burden and the impact on our society.
And that's it for today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Do join us again tomorrow for another informative show. Remember to visit our website, gis.gov.jm, for more news you can use. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.